You're listening to the Betoota Advocates Weekly News Wrap on Desert Rock FM 96.5. Welcome back to the weekly Betoota Bulletin. You've got myself, Clancy Overell, here. We've got Effie, Bateman and Wendell. Hussey, how are we, team?
Really good, really good.
Big interviews this week. Senator Jackie Lambie, Senator Tammy Tyrrell on Decode. We had Youngblood. Effie, one of your favourite artists, Youngblood, came in to talk to us about the life and times of a young rock star in his early 20s coming out of the north of England. And we've had some pretty big stories in the Australian news cycle. And can you kick us off, please, Wendell?
Yes, well, we've got some entertainment news to get into it with, and the Neighbours finale has finished on a high note with Dr. Carl Kennedy finally getting a threesome with Susan and Izzy.
Yes, the end of an era. Millions of Australians and Poms tuned in this week for an emotional 90-minute Neighbours finale as an Aussie TV institution finally wrapped up some of their most long-awaited plot closures. So after 37 years of car accidents, love triangles, teenagers going off the rails, and old people getting toey, Erinsborough hosted the ultimate reunion of past characters.
And it was the ultimate plot line to wrap up with, as the famous cheater, Dr. Carl Kennedy, finally tied the knot on one of the biggest scandals in television history. 10 years after cheating on his wife Susan, Dr. Carl Kennedy was this week busted making tender love with his former fling Izzy in the GP's practice once again.
And fans, understandably, were expecting some major fireworks to finish the show. However, they didn't get what they expected, Clancy.
No, in true soap opera fashion, fans were treated to a massive curveball when Susan actually took part in what has been described as the sweatiest and most passionate three-way fuckfest in TV history.
Yeah, well, it certainly was something to behold, and as Dr. Carl said to finish up, lying there with his two friends.
Having a cigarette.
Yeah, he said, now this is what I call a final reunion.
And some more national news now, and popular music festival Splendour in the Grass has made headlines this week for all sorts of reasons. One of the biggest stories from the festival was the horrifying report from Ground Zero, with a Splendour man screaming in panic after dropping his brand new blueberry ice bar vape in the mud.
Yes, it's as chilling as it sounds. The picture of the man in question puts a shiver down your spine. Now, if you haven't seen the news this week, the first day of Australia's biggest music festival, Splendour in the Grass, was cancelled after torrential rain caused the North Byron Parkland site to turn into a mud bath.
Yeah, and look, obviously plenty of people who were still there tried to have as much fun as they could on that Friday. And witnesses say this Splendour man, he was walking through the festival site when a passerby accidentally bumped him and flung his vape into the path of an ongoing four-wheel motorbike. It then disappeared under the machine and couldn't be seen on the ground after the motorbike passed.
Given it was a brand new one, he apparently started screaming before diving into the mud and trying to fish out the blueberry goodness somewhere in the murky depths below.
Yeah, horrifying stuff. Eventually his friends pulled him out and had to drag him back to the campground for a wash, but no luck finding that vape in the end.
In town now, and a new father is expecting some kind of brownie points for babysitting his own child.
Yeah, there were quite a lot of comments on this story online, somewhat understandably. It was written after Betoota Heights man Aaron Von Arkel contacted our newspaper with a complaint about his wife's expectations of him. Apparently the new father was frustrated that his wife, and I quote him here, wouldn't let him go out for a spontaneous session with his mates.
Yes, Aaron apparently thought he was owed a blowout with the boys after looking after his own child for a few hours during the day. As his wife said, and I quote here, "He's your son, just because you looked after him for 6 hours doesn't mean you're now owed 6 hours of free time."
We had a comment there from Rick Bailey. He said, "My favourites are the looks of Dad of the Year you get when old ducks see you out with your kids solo." Yes, it seems like older women are very much complicit in this attitude that young fathers have, which leaves them thinking the bare minimum equals extreme parenting.
Yes, times certainly are changing, and staying on the topic of changing times, we've got our sporting story of the week. It's been one dominated by a certain rugby league team. The headline on our big story reads like this: Manly players to celebrate night off the footy with a pokey session followed up by some coked up group sex.
Yes, our second group sex story for this bulletin. We haven't had confirmation about the goings-on on Thursday night, but it was alleged to the Advocate that a number of players with plenty of time on their hands were going to celebrate their night off from football with some revered rugby league traditions.
Quite the night they reportedly had planned. A few beers and some pokies down at the Mammoth RSL they have on the northern beaches there, followed by some kick-ons at a mate's place with some extracurriculars that definitely are prescribed in the Holy Scriptures.
Yeah, I believe they describe it as blowing off some steam, apparently.
Thou shall blow off steam. And good on him. It was a well-handled bin fire this week by the NRL, and I expect we can, we can hope to see a bit more of this kind of drama. Next year, we can have all of those odd codgers on Fox Sports complaining about the PC police and the woke left and yada, 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 yada. The show goes on. The culture wars continue. Thank you for tuning in to the weekly Betoota Bulletin.
It's been a big week in news. See you later.
See you later.
Hooroo.